Time is just gone 9:45 as we continue with the broadcast, and we are focusing on the relief effort and what is being done now. One cannot imagine the magnitude, the size of the damage, the devastation, the destruction as a result of the attack on Gaza. And we see it right across the entire world. This call for the humanitarian corridor to be opened. Now we know we've got this temporary truce, and where there are literally hundreds of trucks that are going into Gaza with essentials, but it's not enough. And many organizations right across the entire world are actually gearing up to provide the support, to provide relief to the people of Gaza. And this is the reason why we are talking with Penny Appeal South Africa. They getting ready as well. And in Cairo, as we speak, is the CEO of Penny Appeal South Africa, Shahnaaz Paruk. Shahnaaz, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Always a pleasure to be speaking with you, Uncle Inayat.
Yes, I'm sure, Shinaz, since this attack on Gaza had taken place, a lot must have already been running through your mind as a CEO of Penny Appeal South Africa, watching the devastation, watching the destruction, the death, all of that unfold. And a lot was already going through your mind from a relief perspective. And this is huge. This is massive. This is unprecedented, something that we haven't seen in a long while.
I think definitely it's something that I can certainly say in my career in terms of the humanitarian space. I've never seen something like this on such a large scale, specifically in such a short space of time. So much of devastation, so much of destruction. Undoubtedly, I think it's very unprecedented times. You're right in saying that. Um, with that, obviously, comes the need for humanitarian response to be able to be something that meets that unprecedented, chain of events. And I think there have been aid agencies that have been working around the clock, even prior to the ceasefire that we're seeing currently. Organizations such as Red Crescent, Palestinian Red Crescent, as well as Penny Appeal South Africa, have been instrumental in providing relief aid inside Gaza. And today I'm speaking to you specifically about the aid that is now crossing through the Rafah border through Cairo on behalf of Penny Appeal South Africa's donors.
Yes, that's wonderful. In fact, we had the Mets Gilbert tour, and the first event that we had hosted in Johannesburg, we had a sister from Australia who had actually arrived that very afternoon from
Hmm.
Cairo, and she gave us quite an insight. I think her name was Shamima, if I'm not mistaken, Sister Shamima
Hmm.
from Australia, and she gave us an insight into this relief effort, into the aid, how it goes in. She even provided us information on the process it takes, all of that actually. And she mentioned that it wasn't an easy task, but like you mentioned, is this needs to go through to the people of Gaza. And just from Penny Appeal's perspective, what are you focusing on, Shinaz, as you are in Cairo right now?
Our teams have primarily been within our warehouse spaces, being able to offer relief aid that's being packed. That's in the form of food packs with essential needs, as well as medicine that we're going to be providing. It's been 3 days of intense packing. The warehouse facility has been afforded to us to allow us to pack our resources. Obviously, it is a push for time because we want to try and get through as much as we can to ensure that the trucks do leave. This isn't the first time Penny Appeal has been responding in terms of providing aid through the Rafah crossing. This is something that has and will be ongoing on a continuous basis. Medicine, I think, was something fairly new for us. We were really excited to hear that we were able to, or we are able to now provide and send through um, chemo, IV vials, as well as antibiotics, as well as essential vitamins specifically for children. We all know that that's what's required to help them in the rehabilitation phase to support the injuries and so that they become rehabilitated. So that's what's currently underway, as well as making sure that the aid is packed. I'm sure most people would understand that the type of aid that's packed is specific as per instruction from the Red Crescent or Egyptian Red Crescent. That's what gives us the idea of what needs to go in. So obviously very relevant aid that's making its way through. And Penny Appeal South Africa has been displaying on social media evidence of aid being distributed within Gaza. This is from the outset, and that's through our staff and partners who are currently on the ground they reside there, and that's been something, alhamdulillah, we're really thrilled to see the end result of the aid getting through.
Yes, I hear what you're saying. Yes, you guided by the Red Crescent at this point in time, and also in terms of sourcing the supplies that need to go, whatever aid needs to go in. I'm sure that is being done in Egypt, and also looking at it from a volunteer base as well. I'm sure many people are actually willing to come forward and volunteer, even the locals in Egypt.
Hmm. So just going back to in terms of the list of items and the Red Crescent, a successful humanitarian aid organization would be forced to work via the Egyptian Red Crescent simply because they are the master coordinators of aid that goes through the Rafah border crossing. The Israelis have signed or allowed for the Egyptian Red Crescent and Palestinian or Red Crescent Society basically to be able to facilitate the aid going through. So it has to be in line with those standards. Any humanitarian emergency response has to have a master coordination body. And this is, what we're guided by. Similarly, the procurement that happens does happen within Cairo. It is obviously the nearest to, seeing that most supplies have now totally run out of Gaza. Not much is available in the wider Palestinian area or territory. So this becomes the next place to arrange procurement. Being able to arrange it, being able to facilitate it, package it. There are even guidelines in terms of how it is to be packaged into pallets, into boxes, going into the trucks. How many pallets are allowed per truck? All of that is something, those guidelines that need to be followed. And then in terms of volunteers, what was really eye-opening for me on this trip was that I never realized in its entirety that Egypt or Cairo faced massive unemployment challenges. And so a lot of individuals actually require employment. And so we're happy to learn that most of these individuals that you're seeing are people who are afforded stipends. Yes, you do get volunteers, but I think that the larger story here is that stipends are provided so people can obviously work. We need to understand the dynamics of how much or the intensity of the work they're doing. We have some warehouses, or we've been told that some warehouses that we've used have been working 24 hours a day with 3 shifts. So that's 8-hour shifts and 3 different teams, and they're rotating. They're constantly pushing out aid. As you can see, it's really intense to have to unpack pallets, pack on pallets, boxes. So I think it's really great that, despite the adversity, there's some hope that's not only going through to the people of Gaza, but you're creating some kind of small employment as well for individuals within this Cairo area, or individuals who may require that stipend or some minimum wage to see them through.
Yes, Shiraz, just I know, this is coordinated with the Red Crescent, and also the Egyptian government is actively involved. And when these trucks leave Rafah and go into Gaza, I know that there are certain checks along the way as well. I think it's Al Arish, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. Yes.
Al Arish, and I mean, are these trucks still being stopped? Are these items being checked? Are they being taken out? Because when Dr. Mez Gilbert was around as well, he mentioned that he was talking about certain types of medications were actually taken out. I think he was talking about anesthetics as well.
Hmm.
So what sort of reports are you getting that in terms of the Al Arish side, and what is actually being done in terms of scrutinizing this cargo that is going through into Gaza?
I think what we're hearing and what we've definitely been able to have evidence of is that yes, the aid is making its way through. In it being a coordinated effort, a coordinated humanitarian effort, we must realize that there will be checks and balances that need to be performed. The list, like I mentioned, in terms of lists that we obtain, in terms of items to be procured, um, the items within the trucks are checked against the allowable and disallowable items that are on the list for procurement. So if the medicine is something that is not prescribed or not within the allowable list, then that would not actually be able to be allowed through. We haven't had any reports of our aid trucks being affected to date. And this is not just from this instance. I mentioned that Penny Appeal has been sending in aid trucks through various measures for at least a month or so. The food items are checked as well. This is all part of the scanning process, I think, so that it also delivers on being able to ensure that Once the trucks are vetted and they receive their number and there is a packing slip of sorts, if I can break it down to that technicality, it's actually our way of checking that it's the same thing that arrives on the other side when it's received, obviously through the Rafah border crossing, but onto the Palestinian side. So yes, we are hearing from individuals that items are removed, but I do believe these are items that are not prescribed or items that should not have been packaged in or aren't in line with the guidelines or requirements for the Red Crescent.
Well, Shinaz, we know that no amount of relief is going to be enough at this point in time, and it's going to take a very very long time for the people of Gaza to get back onto their feet, to get to normality, and this is going to
Mhm.
be an ongoing effort for a very very long time. And I suppose this is the reason why Penny Appeal is making this appeal as well, and we are obviously appealing to the entire world that they need to obviously come forward. And I'm sure on your side you're going to make this appeal for people to come to again dig deep and to donate generously and to assist and to support Penny Appeal in your relief effort.
Most definitely. I mean, I feel like um, the message that needs to go out is that it doesn't stop here. This is going to be an ongoing situation, even if the aid routes seem to improve, and even if the access to items or resources improve. There's always going to be a need in the foreseeable future for us to be able to assist the people of Gaza. With that being said, that requires an ongoing commitment, not only from the humanitarian sector and for organizations like Penny Appeal South Africa. It's a requirement that's needed from donors as well. And so that's why when we speak to people, we ask them to please, renew your intention, inshallah, make an intention to donate regularly. And it doesn't have to be huge amounts. It can be whatever you have, because the Almighty doesn't look at the amount of money you're giving. He looks at your intention. And we pray that people will open their hearts and consider donating on an ongoing basis. We have been able to provide humanitarian relief. We have been able to demonstrate our ability to distribute it within Gaza successfully. And so we would like individuals to please consider Penny Appeal South Africa when you're making your donations. We're in this for the long run and we definitely need help. So please consider donating as much as you can, whenever you can, towards this cause. Inshallah, the Almighty accepts and grants ease to those affected in Gaza, to those who are facing the horrors that they face every day. And I think for me, the learning curve in this is that despite everything we may have in this world, we're restricted in terms of how much we can actually do. We can't actually get there or be there right now. And so being able to send hope, being able to send relief, I think that is the main thing that we're able to focus on right now, as well as our du'as for them.
Well, certainly, and also, we know that rebuilding at this point in time is going to be virtually impossible. But
Yeah.
also, there are other challenges now, apart from just all the lives that have been lost and the people that have been injured and their worldly possessions that they've lost as well. The threat of disease that is looming at this point in time, and that could be even worse, I think, than when one looks at just the statistics, the numbers
Yeah.
of people that have been killed, and with the threat of disease, really, it's a scary thought, Shinas.
I think we've all, the whole world, including myself, we've all watched in horror about everything that's transpired, and we've seen the footage and we've seen the imaging. There's a longer term impact that's going to happen here. I don't think we've even tipped the scales or thought about the psychosocial impacts. We haven't thought about, like you mentioned, the diseases, the further medicine that's going to be needed. We haven't thought about the long term effects of basic shelter. What about an entire generation that's going to lose their life quite literally? They may not have lost their life, but lose their life in terms of not having the access, not having the right to education, not having the right to shelter, not having the right to nutrition, not having the right to have a family, not having a right to live. I think we're only going to truly see that now impact probably within the next 5 years plus, where we're going to see an entire generation of children who are going to literally be, lost for all intents and purposes. And I think the spin-off of that is going to be huge. And so when we talk about long-term commitments, we're talking about all of the other underlying issues that are now going to start cropping up: orphaned and vulnerable children, broken families, individuals who have lost limbs, disabilities. The list goes on, and all of this brought on and exacerbated simply by the actions that we've been seeing over the last uh, over the last month plus. So a long road ahead, but it's a road
Yes,
that must be traveled.
we certainly are in for a long haul, but like you mentioned, all these other issues you spoke about, each one is a discussion point on its own, and I'm sure at some point in time we will unpack all of those as well. And I think it's only when people are able to get into Gaza, when you're able to physically see for yourself, to interact, to speak to the people, that's when we will come to realize, what what you are actually talking about, Shinas. But Shinas, just I know once again, just to remind our listeners, our viewers wanting to contribute, what do they need to do?
We would like for listeners and viewers to please consider donating to Penny Appeal South Africa. You're able to reach our donation platform on our website, which is www.pennyappeal.org.za. Please ensure it is the South African office that you are finding. So pennyappeal.org.za. You can also view all of the work, all of the updates, all of the distributions within Gaza that we've been posting for the last month plus on our Instagram and social media pages. That's Penny Appeal SA or Penny Appeal South Africa. You're also able to view most of our banking details on our website as well under how to donate. And if there are any queries, you're able to contact our office, which is 031 573. I just want to add that, like I mentioned, every amount counts, every bit of help really, really helps in the long run. We're really hoping that people can dig deep and help us fill many more trucks right now that need to go in. Help us do as much as we can, as much as we possibly can, knowing full well that we're answering the calls for assistance and the calls for aid that are coming through from the people of Palestine, from Gaza, from humanitarian players in the field, inshallah.
Inshallah. Well, Shanaz, Jazakallah khairan so much for that and for your time with us this morning out of Cairo. Allah Ta'ala grant you the strength and to continue. Allah keep you strong. And also, Allah Ta'ala accept your efforts, inshallah. And inshallah, I'm sure from time to time we will touch base. But for now, Jazakallah for your time and all the best to you and the team. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes, Shahnaaz Paruk, the CEO of Penny Appeal South Africa, just unpacking some of the dynamics with regard to the relief effort that is on the way. And there's just so much that we can actually take away from this discussion, a lot for us to think about. But more importantly, is what can you and I do for the people of Gaza in this time of need, in this dire situation that they find themselves in. And with it, we're going to go for a break. Next up, we're talking with Liz McDade.